Hello and good morning. Welcome to my Ascension Messages. My name is Bobbie Richardson and I will be your guide for today. Today I'm going to channel some messages through. I've been getting quite a bit of information lately, so I'll go through a couple of notes, but I also explore more channeling as we go along as well. There's been this massive internal understanding shift that's happening and taking place within many of us at the moment, and an awareness that's growing. And that's why they wanted me to say let the magic begin and title this Let the Magic Begin, because the magic comes from that. It's actually a rebalancing of humanity's qualities to become their true authentic self is what's really happening. Hey Javia in the chat bar, good to see you. Also, I'm an intuitive counselor. If you want to book me one-on-one, the link's down below. And I've started a school called AMAKEL, which is all to do with intuitive, lots and lots of games, intuition games and stuff like that, and lessons. I'm going to bring up a couple of lessons, but I'm also moving next week. So I'm going to it's either going to be next week or the week after. I'm just going to go crazy because I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands then to really pump into the school. So that's going to be fun. But we're going to get into a little bit more about these messages coming up at the moment about an alignment that's happening within each and every one of our consciousnesses. Hey Nicole, hey Yannicka, good to see you. So there is something that my team brought me to just before I went live as well. It was called the Looking Glass, and I have seen this many decades ago. They took me to this information about the Looking Glass, and it was to do with a box of some sort that was found that they could see in the ones in power could see into the future. And I really feel that this is all orchestrated from source energies. Kind of, we are all source energy, but it's like a source energy implodement, what one would say, where the ones that are so-called in charge were gifted this box to see into the future. Now they could control up to a certain point, but then all they saw from then on after that was just this it's like everything just came together. It was just blinding white light, and they couldn't see past the blinding white light. And they ended up employing people that were could really pick at everything and figure out a way out of it. They wanted a way out of it, so that because they saw in their eyes the world ending, and so they started to project this information out to the mass because they wanted us to still stay in the fear game, and they had a lot of control over that fear game. And then in the fear game, but really what was happening was it was their world that was ending, and there was an uprise of humanity's evolution returning or pinging back to themselves, their ordinary self. We think we are evolving, absolutely, but there was an alignment as well of who we truly are at the core essence, and being rebalanced into our feminine, intuitive side again, connection to our soul, which meant that it was our natural self, but also there's an evolutional process that's taking place of how to handle the logical mind and what we can actually create in this world and in the outer world, and also how we can match that with our inner dialogue or our inner world to be able to create something that was more conducive to the whole, not consuming itself. I'll put it that way. So one of the first messages that I actually channeled through was, we are programmed to believe that others in our environment rule over us. They can block us, stagnate us, control us, and so forth. And everyone has felt this, right? It's not just, a few. And if you're really honest with yourself, there's certain things where you just go, well, that's a limit I can't exceed, because there's been a control, there's been a law, there's been something poured over me that stops me or prevents me from going any further. When we truly awaken and remember who we truly are, we remember that nothing but ourselves have limited us. This is the grand awakening into becoming the central point of your existence. It's a peeling away of all programs that was held within the mind and the body, that keeps us contained in a limited expression of oneself, or an expression of oneself that was controlled by others outside of us, because really we hadn't even gone within ourselves to try to control who we are and how we feel about ourselves at all. Even schools and everything, it was all programmed for us to only look outside of ourselves, ignore our feelings, just put up with that sort of thing. The limit created by logic was meant to gift us this physical world, but as it became fearful and felt the need to rule over every aspect of our lives, which brought in conditions to keep us safe in a world contained to control everything, because our logical masculine side wanted to feel safe and it couldn't understand beyond our physical world. So yeah, just that in itself is because our physical logical self wanted to rule over everything. It actually contained itself. And because it couldn't understand the missing message within humanity's consciousness, which is intuition, imagination, sparking consciousness from the soul's advice. The soul would normally advise the logical mind to create something outside of itself. But because the logical mind had overtaken everything, it had cut itself off from the soul's advice, and that therefore only taking advice from someone outside of itself, because that's all it knew was the physical world. So it could only understand somebody else becoming a leader and telling us what to do. And this is where we all failed. So now it's all to do with reconnection to our soul, which is our advice from source energy's perspective, not from somebody else outside of us who's only coming from their own lack and trying to control everything outside of them. So that was the mirror reflection of that. This would stop the feminine power to match the masculine and therefore cap our expression of our souls playing in this physical world. It is time now to embrace both intuitive feminine expression and masculine logical self, to fully embrace stepping into a tangible magical world where the only limits are governed by the physical expression of our imagination. So yeah, this is where the magical world comes into play, because now we are learning to acknowledge that soul's advice, and then when we start to pull our feelings into place of, oh, if I feel this specific way, then it starts to reflect outside of me. If I hold that specific feeling of who I am, it starts to reflect outside of myself. And therefore the magic starts to play out, because what you're doing is you're grounding more of your soul into your actual physical body. You're acknowledging it, that is grounding it. And then the soul's advice comes from love, pure essence of love. It wants only the best for you. And so when you hold that expression of yourself, you start to see it play out in reflection outside of you. But there is a time lapse, and I think this is what most of us, as we're moving in, the higher that you get into your own higher frequency, though, into your own clarity of self, the faster the manifestation can happen. But there has to be no resistance whatsoever. And many of us, when we're desiring something, we have in place with that desire a resistance towards it, because it's like, oh my God, can I reach it? And so you end up having the resistance that comes towards you, and that's what's actually blocking you. The more clearer you are, the actual acceptance of one's power and oneself from a soul's perspective, actually that clarity would mean that your day-to-day movements or mind frame would be very not grasping at all. You just be existing in this moment and enjoying the moment. And that's why living in the moment is so important as we raise our bar into these higher realities, into the higher expression of ourselves. Yeah, so that was really interesting. That looking through the glass, was it the looking through the looking glass, in that they actually found the those that were in power. I'm going to say were. They knew that everything was going to come together, because, and no matter what they tried to do, they would be an integral part in the awakening. Whether they tried to push more laws on to us, it would still be an integral part into the awakening, because it would be showing them up as a deceit that they were even bigger than they were before. So and within that deception, so long as one that was meeting that deception was coming into empowerment of self, they would see through any lies and deceit. It's literally like waking up in a partnership where one is the victim and one is the narcissist, and the lies that the narcissist causes from their own lack of self-worth, trying to control their outer world or the other person, and the other person either feeling a victim to that and feeling sorry for themselves, and then bending over backwards to match the lack of vibration of the narcissist, or whether it's been the victim starts to see their own true value and their power themselves. They see through the lies quicker, and then they can what they're asking us to do is, because you don't want to match that vibration anymore, you need to walk away from it and completely cut off that energy line so that it's not in existence to you. Now, everybody within their own self, if you have been a victim, you have been a narcissist, you have both of those within you, because they are matching vibrations of mirror effects. So if you're finding that your relationships are starting to seek through a narcissist's value within the other person and you're falling into victim, then look at yourself, because you could be also projecting narcissism on the other person as well. It can entangle. And when you start to clear yourself within, no, this is not who I am. I am a beautiful, powerful person. I am a nurturing person. I want to nurture everybody that's in my reality. When you start to project that, then it falls away. The energy falls away, because you are in power of yourself. You say the right things at the right time to that person. They will either fall away or they will come up into the same level of awareness as you. So that's a really interesting channel message right there. It is a definite mirror. You can shift this from the inside out when you shift your own power, and see where the cards may fall from there. Really interesting. In other words, you shifting out of victimization can actually shift a narcissist's expression of themselves, because we all have good and bad within us. It just depends on how much are you holding on to that, trying to control the rest of the world outside of you, because you feel lack within yourself. When the feminine starts to nurture the masculine starts to raise up to their level of self-empowerment as well. So remember that too. Okay. Another message that I got was, you cannot control anything. You can only surrender and use the currents. Now this is a really interesting one, and it kind of bent one of my rules. So I'm going to speak it out, and then I'm going to talk about it afterwards. But we have to be always flexible, because as we go into these higher frequencies, the rules that we had in the lower frequencies will shift. So they no longer apply, because you're now stepping up into a truer or more potential value of yourself or understanding of yourself. So that means that's why they always ask you to never know, you'll never know everything, because when you start to raise your level into a higher existence of yourself, if you still holding on to a rule that worked for a lower existence of yourself, then you're still pulling yourself back into that energy field. So we've got to always be flexible, change, understand that rules can change, right? If you are saying, oh, that person told me that last year, and now they're changing their mind and saying this, so be it. That person's maybe evolved into a higher level of consciousness or awareness of themselves. So we have to go with it, the flow of that. And I'm not trying to what is it? I can't even think of the word because I don't even want to go there. No, it doesn't even matter. I'm not even going to say it, but I'm not trying to cover myself or any of my tracks or anything like that. That's not how this works. This is an evolutional process of oneself as we're moving into higher frequencies. The rules do change, the understandings or the lessons do change. So just be aware of that. Okay, let's read this. You cannot control anything. You can only surrender and use the currents or energies to your advantage, moving your expectations of how you feel through moments to give rise to your environment meeting that obligation. Therefore, if you are seeking something that then you'll only find the path that forever seeks. If you are asking for something, you will be matched with the vibration that matches the story you felt in need to ask. Why ask for something that is already within you? The universe bends to meet you, not the other way around, because you are the central point of your creation. Anything else is meeting you at the level that you feel yourself to be at. And it's really important to notice this because of these gifts that are starting to come up in humanity's consciousness as a meet of our vibrational power, of our soul's understanding of where our soul's even been, and so forth. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me day before yesterday. Or was it yesterday? Man, time flies so fast. Yeah, no, it was Sunday, so it was the day before yesterday. Okay, so I had a bit of spare time and I was just relaxing, and then I was watching binge watching some movies, and my team said, go outside and sit out in the sun. And I'm like, okay, I'll go outside and sit in the sun. Anyway, I need to get out, out away from the TV kind of thing. So I sat out next to a fence. I just sat there and I just started to feel the sun. And I'm like, oh, the sun's starting to get hotter on my face. And they started to give me this lesson. And the lesson was, is the sun getting hotter on your face, or are you projecting it to feel hotter on your face because that is your true understanding of what happens when you put your your face in the sun, right? So then they're like, how are you actually thinking? And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I don't want the sun to be burning my face or burning my skin on my face. And they're like, really? Okay, so you're asking for the sun to disappear. I'm like, well, a cloud would be good, but there was no clouds in the sky in that moment. And they're like, yeah, but there's nothing in your environment at the moment that's conducive to a cloud being formed. And I'm like, okay. So this was kind of playing with the environment, but also playing with my mind. They were giving me this different understanding of awareness. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying that that's not how I'm going. Like, I was trying to control the outside world, but with my mind, I'm going to form a cloud outside of me, right? And that's going to cover the sun up a bit, and then I'm going to feel. But I went outside to meet with the sun, right? This is, just bear with me here. And then the message was, what do you want to feel? And I'm like, okay, what do I want to feel? I want to feel comfortable sitting in the sun. They're like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. How do you want to feel? I want to feel comfortable in the sun. So then when I started to feel into that, I feel comfortable in the sun, all of a sudden a wind came up. Now, there was a little bit of wind around, but nothing major. It was hardly anything, to tell you the truth. The trees weren't rustling or anything, but a wind came up and swished across my face. And then I'm like, oh, that feels a lot better. And then as soon as I went, oh, but it's never going to stay like that, all of a sudden the wind died down and I had the sun on my face again. And then they were like, do you want to feel comfortable in the sun? And I kept switching me every time I felt comfortable within myself. I feel comfortable sitting here. The wind would come back up again, and so forth. So it wasn't to do with me controlling the outside world. I wasn't trying to control the wind. I was controlling how I felt in the moment. And the moment started to meet me. it was really interesting. The outside world started to meet me. So I was flickering back and forth like this, and I'm starting to realize the more comfortable I felt with myself of every moment that I was walking through in my life, the more that comfort would meet me in one way or another. But it wasn't fixated on a logical way of trying to control something outside of myself, which is only narrow visioned into one aspect of the environment, fixating on that, and that's trying to control that to be exactly as I want it to be. It was more to do with me just becoming comfortable and allowing the outside world to show up as the comfort, the story to show up as that story. Yeah, so I just wanted to share with you guys that. So this is another reason why let the magic begin, because the magic is an understanding or awareness of how we feel about ourselves, and then allowing the outside world to match that vibration. So we know our stories are evolving, because what we're really wanting when we want abundance, we really want to feel safe. What we really want when we want money in our bank, or we want security. So when we start to feel the safety and security within ourselves, that will meet our vibration. And this is what's shifting us into this light frequency, where we are changing up how the story evolves. We're not changing up the story, we're changing up how it actually evolves. We're coming back actually to our empowerment. This is how we naturally should be doing things. We are coming back into balance. What we were doing before, we were expecting to try to change something outside of us, which could never happen. And so we constantly fell back into victim and fear. There's something there. Is it probably even more messages on that one? Hang on. Yeah. Hey, everybody in the chat bar. Good to see you, Candace, Debbie, Anna, Sky, Lisa. Good to see everybody. Jenny and everyone. Okay. So we're learning at the moment to empower ourselves into creating, to seeing the value of the story from our feeling base, instead of changing the story outside of us, which could never be anyway, because our outside environment is always, being in a thicker, kind of denser physical environment, was always a little bit of a lack anyway. And the clearer or more clarity that you have within yourself of self-acceptance, the more that you meet the outside environment at a quickening. That's what they call the quickening. Well, that's what they're calling the quickening. So then as you clear yourself more and trust who you are as you're moving, you're not needing to trust the outside world, you're needing to trust yourself. Then you're raising into quicker manifestations. And so let the games begin, they're saying, where you are now playing in the field of a quickening into that things manifesting faster. And I noticed with myself, I literally think something, like I was thinking on Sunday, I remember when I was a kid, I loved kaleidoscopes. I loved looking through a kaleidoscope. And I actually asked for Santa to bring me a kaleidoscope, and I didn't care about anything. I didn't want much. I wanted a skipping rope or a kaleidoscope. I wanted the smaller thing. In those days, kaleidoscopes, there was quite a few around back in the 70s. And any case, the very next day on my iPhone, I ended up coming up, like straight up, was a kaleidoscope thing. And it was just what I was thinking of, like being able to sink into this kaleidoscope that's just morphing and all of that sort of stuff. So it's like what you think, and you might notice this in your own day-to-day thing. If you get clearer and clearer, what you think happens, but there has to be no resistance. So there was no resistance in that, because it didn't really matter if it came into my reality or not. It was just a kind of I put it in my thought form, it's sent out to the universe, and it comes back just like that. That's how quick it happens. And they're saying that the more clearer and least resistance you have to that, the more it just happens. They're showing the touch. They're bringing me to a movie. Was it the nanny? There was this nanny that was looking after kids, and she's like, when you want me, I will not be there. When you don't need me, I will be there. Something like that. And it's kind of like that, because the true value of things comes at least resistance. So if we are really grasping for something, then it's never going to meet us at that. Also, they're bringing up at the moment with these new gifts that are coming, a magic happening in our reality. Children that are born with a natural, they have their link to their soul. They've already come from a place that has that awareness, and they just naturally move into it, because the least resistance within the adult community now opening themselves up. It's like a collaboration that's happening. Then they are not being as programmed as what you were. And they're seeing on the internet that they can just look up a topic and they can see other adults actually, doing the magic, that doing the telekinesis and moving things and being telepathic and so forth. So there's this collaboration that's happening between the young and the old, the inner and the outer, the masculine and the feminine. It's a collaboration that's coming together. This is when it all comes together as an acceptance of each other's value. That's where that light or that spark happens. And now bringing me to sonoluminescence. For some reason, they're showing me that the bubble in the water. Why? I don't know. But the bubble in the water that is created through sound, and at a certain point, it creates light. It explodes. Why? Why would you say that? And they're showing me now the looking glass, and the ones that were in power looking into it and just seeing light. We're coming into sonoluminescence within ourselves, where we are now exploring the light world, the power of that which was not ever been able to be seen by the logical masculine mind, but can be seen by the feminine mind. And that's why the power of the feminine is raising away, but they're showing me the power of the feminine is raising into more awareness, but also nurturing the masculine. So we're infusing more light into the physical world, which is bringing the magic down, bringing the magic into this physical world. It's a collaboration that works. If it was just the feminine and we just go into that soul feminine energy, then we will all depart the physical world. But what humanity is doing, and what source energy is using humanity as the tools or the instruments to do, is to infuse more love into a denser physical world. And so it brings the denser physical world into a bigger, vaster playground for love to play in. Wow, it's pretty full on. See if there's anything else that's coming through as well. Thank you, Jeannie, for putting down my website and so forth. I just put up a really huge message to do with the spinal fluid and the cavities within the brain. See, everything's changing up as I'm starting to shift. So I used to say, ask for things. Now I'm saying, ask yourself for things. So this is the message that's flipping around, that I'm just coming back to that message that I had before about asking. You don't need to ask for anything that's already within you. Then asking you to ask yourself is really interesting. And also the message that I got about the spinal fluid, everything started to shift, because I always thought that the cave that we go within was the pineal gland itself. And now I found out that it's a crevice, a space in the brain that holds spinal fluid. Spinal fluid comes from the embryo fluid that when you were born, you closed it in from the embryo fluid of your mother's DNA and everything. And it's now whirling around within you. It has, there's these cilia hair-like things out on the outside of the pineal gland, and I do believe even inside all of the funnels or the caves that can actually pull information through from your lineage, from your DNA's lineage. So all the magic that you had as a witch, that past lives that has been played out and so forth, can come through this newer understanding of the spinal fluid that is actually going around in you. And when it meets at the top, there's a crevice at the top. I'm not a scientist, so I'm only saying this in layman terms. I don't even know the words for everything. But there's this crevice at the top where it connects with the pituitary gland and the pineal gland and everything, and the four hemispheres of the brain. There was four hemispheres or four awarenesses of the brain, not hemispheres, there's two hemispheres, but four awarenesses. There's four different, I don't know the names of them all. The frontal lobe, back lobe, the side lobe, there's four. So it's really interesting that there's four, because there's four elements too. Anyway, and then it comes into this crevice where the fluid is held, and then the vibrations of that, I think that is the cave that I stepped into when I was on this vision quest, and I had the warring mind coming at me with the horses galloping towards the tent, and then I had to escape. I ended up in this cave where an elder was holding a bow and arrow, and she's like, no matter what, she was going to try to kill me. No matter what, I came back, because I had some sort of something within my soul that allowed me to go through into the higher dimensions, even though I come from a warring zone. They knew that I wouldn't muck things up. There was a reason and a purpose why I was allowed to go through, but a normal person would never be able to go through into the higher dimensions to be taught until they had found peace of mind within themselves. And so I feel like that crevice now is where I was in that cave. So interesting. And the pineal gland was producing the DMT that would flip the molecules in the cave into an anion experience, which is what my 3-year-old daughter gave me the clue to, an anion experience, because she said that where she knows where we go when we die. It's a place where everything is everything, but we now live in our minds now, Mummy, but we also live in anion as well. And anion, she said, I can look it up, but you have to thank me for this one. And she was only like 4 years old. And anion was a quantum physics particle that flipped in 2 dimensions. It could flip from material to light, fermion to boson. And so then they're bringing me through to that sonoluminescence again, flipping from one to the other. When we have the freedom, this is where they're coming to. When we have the freedom to flip from material to light at any given moment, we are free of all illusions. So we have the control mechanism within ourselves of what we want to explore, whether we want to explore multi-dimensions or whether we want to explore the physical world and bring through more love and feel safe in this world through allowing that expression of self, of the soul, to come through. There's a sonoluminescence that happens within ourselves, but we can come back to the vibrational me of the physical world, or we can expand into the light world. This is how we escape the matrix. Yeah. I also feel like when I say these things, I can feel there's still more information to come, but I don't know it quite yet. There's still more information to come. And let yourself be flexible. Like the information that you receive, anything that you start to come into awareness of, whether it be other people or whatever, and then you might take that information and build on it or something. Anything that happens with you, let yourself be flexible. Don't hold on to rules of the past, because those rules were created for you in a specific moment for you to land on a higher step. So yeah, now I've starting to change my mind that the actual space that we are working with the third eye is this opening where the spinal fluid or embryo fluid is meeting, and it goes all the way down your spine and all the way back up again, and it meets in this. They're showing me an ankh now at the central point, and that's where you have this power to be able to flip into light or to flip into the material, go back to the material world where you exist, but you have full awareness of both. There's something going on there. Trying to feel more into it for you guys and for my own understanding, but I'm feeling a little lightheaded as well as I do this. Yeah. Oh, you watched the video, Yannicka. Yeah, I saw a video. This is where this information has started to come. My team will pull me into, I hardly watch anything, but then my team pulls me into certain things at certain moments in my life so that I can, and then I ended up building more awareness from that, of everything as well. So go have a look on my website, Codes to a New Reality. Thank you, Jeannie, for putting that up there. And then, and it's the last blog that I did. There's a lot of information that started to pour through as well, because it was a meetup of their information and my information. And this is what we've got to do now. We've got to start collaborating. You don't know all the answers. I don't know all the answers. They don't know all the answers. We've got to start. This is why we start to cross the threshold, because we start to collaborate when no one's trying to be better than another. It's just a collaboration of unified fields of wisdom and understanding coming together. This is the light workers coming together as well, because when we meet at that core essence of understanding, we're all part of an integral puzzle. We end up, the light starts, they show me the light exploding again. And it shifts everyone's consciousness, because they show me the 100 monkey syndrome, where one monkey on an island washed its potato, found salt on its potato through the sea, started washing it, and then all of a sudden all the other monkeys on the other island that had no communication other than the water between the islands, that they ended up, so we have this water between and inside of us. So literally they're showing me, and then the water and the world is like that as well. It's all within. They're showing me that you know how the spirals, the Fibonacci sequences, and the fractals, where they go in within. It's a shell. If you mush it up, the particle of a shell looks like a shell again. It's within. We are part of the bigger cosmos, the macro and the micro is all one. And it's your perception that starts to expand you. You coming more into empowerment. Really important at the moment to say, I am powerful, because your power is specifically unique to you. And when you start saying, I am powerful, and you bring that power back into you, then you are that uniqueness starting to shine. So everything that you do and act and say comes from that power. You are no longer in fear, in the fear game anymore. You are stepping into it. And more information will come through to those that are here as messengers, and more wisdom will come through into creating the businesses that you need to create. The understandings of what your soul's journey has gone on will start to ignite. And that's why they wanted us to say, let the magic begin, because the magic is what's going to shift everything. It's so cool. Yeah, wow, Lisa. I have received the message that Ankh is the key. Yeah, that's so interesting. And then they're showing me, makes sense. I just realized, Lisa, okay, so thank you for that. 'Cause sometimes just one little thing can spark me as well. So that the Ankh is the key, because if you see this, the spinal fluid, it actually goes all the way down the spine, right down to the very tip of the coccyx, and then it goes all the way back up, and it also goes around the outside of the brain. It's like it's sitting in that fluid. And it also, then you have that crevice in the central point, right in the center of your brain, which is meeting up with all parts. So something to do with that. Now they're bringing me to somatics. So somatics is vibrational. When we attune water to something, it holds memory. We know that it holds memory. This holds memory. This within you, it holds memory of all your soul's lineage, your lineage of your DNA. It holds memory. Your soul is residing within that fluid. There's something to do with the spark of consciousness. Understanding this will actually ignite it as well. And so when you meditate, come to this, imagine the Ankh. I'm just trying to figure out because the Ankh is like this, but it also has this. I'm just wondering what this is. I don't know what this is yet, and I don't want to just make up stuff. So I might have to look more into it, but there's something to do with that, going around the outside of the brain, coming into the central point of self. Finding harmony within oneself will open many doors. When you open a door through peace of mind and harmony and all that, when you open any door, you will always be met with that peace and harmony. When you open a door through fear, then you will always be met with that, or with doubt, or with I don't know the answer. You'll be met with I don't know the answer. So there's something to do with that too. In other words, I already know the answer. I haven't found. I'm still got a resistance to it. So I've got to let go of the resistance before the answer actually comes through. Okay. But yeah, there's some sort of awakening that's happening within us. And even if you're not into, or the biology and stuff like that at the moment, do what feels good for you. If you're just into meditation, if you're just into, imagining the world that you want to create, doesn't matter. There is no set, you have to do what everyone else is doing. This is why we've got to keep coming back to ourselves and how we feel as we're moving through these different layers of awareness, and never hold on to one layer to another. Keep changing, keep moving. If you can change and allow change to happen, you're not holding on to anything. I was right then, so I have to be right now. I can't change my story. Oh no, that's very logically based. That's not conducive with you evolving. Evolution means change. They're showing me an animal that goes through an evolutionary process is always because their energy came into a natural resistance of something, which propelled them to create just through I don't want to be resistant to that anymore. And so their bodies evolved into something that produced something that would not have resistance to that reality anymore. In other words, they evolve into a better dynamic of themselves. And then they're safe again. They feel safe again. And then they'll find resistance, and it just keeps doing this. They're showing me a wave. Keep going with it. Things pulsate. Everything pulsates. That's a one given with everything. It's all pulsating. Release and acceptance and something. Yeah. Okay. Lisa, is it a straight part, the balance of the divine masculine and feminine, divine feminine? Yeah, I do feel that. I agree with that, but there's something more. I think it's to do with the inner and outer and how we're expressing ourselves. For some reason, they're showing me like lightning coming out of it, or some sort of integration. Now they're showing me the silical hairs within the little fine hairs that are information coming in that through electricity, something to do with electricity. That's a higher connection to our soul within the electricity. Something to do with that, maybe. It's really interesting. I really like that I'm working with you guys on this. Instead of me just, I mean, my team's helping me, but it's great to have that interaction with, because some things will spark. Oh, that's so funny, spark, electricity, right? We're forming sparks between each other. Other people hold some of your soul's lineage and they awaken you. It's really interesting. Stretch ourselves and expand to frequencies. I've gotten similar messages. Okay, so cool. But also a containment of, like they're showing me a containment. They're showing me between joints there is electricity. I don't actually know if there is. I guess this is like I'm channeling. So my logical brain's having a brain fire. It's like, you know who it is. Right. But there's something to do with that. And so no luminescence or the spark of life or coming back into self. I'm diverging to. I want to make sure that we're on a page where it feels like everybody's on an understanding. Anyways, day to day, as we go along with this, the most important thing is to keep going back to how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? And if you don't feel good, how can I shift that feeling? And that's really what they want us to bring us back into as a day-to-day going along. And shift how you feel. Don't wait for the outside to shift to make you feel safe or make you feel. You shift how you feel first. That was one of the most important messages of today, at the moment anyway. Okay, thanks, Kelsey. Yeah, don't forget to hit the like button and so forth as well. Okay, anything else that's coming through for the magic being sparked? So yeah, there's a lot more of us awakening to this, and that is literally what's lifting the whole of humanity. There are definitely going to be those that are not going to want to even understand that there's more to reality than meets the so-called physical eye. And they will stay in that world that will end up crumbling. They will end up, because they aren't in balance with the true nature of humanity, which is collaboration of masculine and feminine coming together in unity and understanding that one does not completely know the other, but both are needed for the whole experience of humanity's consciousness walking on this earth. Otherwise, we are never going to evolve if we just pretend that the feminine isn't as existence or is lesser value, and if we just think that the feminine is the only value, then we wouldn't have the physical world to actually play in. So that's why it's so important to keep coming together with each other. Candace, we have nervous systems with synapses. Yeah, and it could be something to do with the nerves that are going around. Everything is going to be connecting to each other. But when we come into our light body, there's more of an awareness of what's actually happening within us, because we start to go into the micro instead of just putting all our attention on the macro, which is the outside world, the physical world. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, I think that's all. I'm not really sure. Is there any questions maybe that someone wants to ask or anything to do with that? Anne. Celtic's name is in blue because she is actually I can make you one too. It is a moderator, sorry, can't even speak. I'm pretty sure you want me to, because yeah, I'll see if that. Yeah, so you should come up as a moderator as well. That means that you can actually block people and stuff like that, and that sort of thing. Okay, if anyone else wants to be a moderator, I am more the merrier, because it just helps me. If somebody comes into the chat bar and they've been a problem, then you can just block them and just go, nah, buzz off. And then I can keep focusing in on channeling the messages through instead. Yeah. Okay, so everything's changing up for me. I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be moving next week. So I'm going to see what I can do when it comes to lives and all that sort of thing. If I don't go live next week, it will definitely be the week after, because I've got 2 months of focusing completely on my AMAKEL school and this. And my intuitive counseling. That's all I'm doing. Like I just got this freedom in front of me for 2 months. So it's amazing what the universe has brought to me, allowing me to just focus in on, and I want to do more marketing. I want to get things out there. I want to just put all my energy into this and see where it takes me. So that's what's happening in the next 2 months. But next week, because it's an actual moving week, and I'm putting all my stuff in storage and stuff, and so it's a big shift for me. I had to let go of Alice yesterday. So Alice the cat has gone to my daughters. My daughters are growing up with her. They absolutely love her, and I'm so excited that they've got her with her. So that's perfect. So she's really happy because she knows them. She just has to get used to a different environment. And yeah, so everything's changing up, but I feel like it's a shift meant to happen. And I really feel like I'm going to have a lot of stars out there. I'm going to connect with my soul brothers and sisters a lot more. It'll just be me. So it's just going to be really interesting where this all goes. I'm going to end up like probably going online a lot more, because I'll be like, oh, I'll go meet my buddies in the chat bar if I'm feeling lonely or anything, which I don't think I will, but you know, I'll just keep going. Anyway, it'll be really interesting how it all goes. Penny is going with Michael, so that was Michael's dog. He bought Penny, so yeah, she's going with him. Yeah, everything's been moved. And yeah, we'll see what happens next. I'll probably do quite a few lives on my mobile as well. I do have a little mic, but it's not working as well, but it will work with my mobile, I think, better than my computer. And yeah, so it'll be a different environment. I'm just going to do whatever. I probably do a lot more lives, smaller lives when messages come through instead of holding on to them. But I want to keep the Tuesdays and Thursdays going. That is a must. I want to keep the stability happening. And yeah, there will just be more of me coming online. So anyway, guys, until Thursday, I definitely will be live on this Thursday, and I'll do another tarot reading with you guys and see what the tarot cards pull through and ask some profound questions there. Haven't got a title for that one yet. Thanks, Nicole. I'm excited. It's freeing me up for a lot more. And I also have in the movement, a beautiful person who's been following me heaps, who lives in New York, organising me to go to New York, which is huge for me, and channeling live on stage. So yeah, I also have to go to New Zealand to see my parents. So there's all this, everything's changing, and it looks like I'm going to be traveling as well. So it'll be exciting to see where this takes me, but it just feels like it's right. So anyway, guys, thanks for everything and being part of this journey so far, and we'll see what happens next. Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, I will, Celtic. When you get to New York, let me know. I will let everybody know what's happening with that. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, to say the least. But my team, I feel like my team, and there's a team on Earth that is pulling together to get me to channel live on stage and go further with all of this. So yeah, that's where it's going. Okay, guys, bye.